Hello! It is November 1st, which means it's day 1 of NaNoWriMo. I have never taken part in NaNoWriMo before, and I've also never done a writing vlog before, so we will be learning this as we go along. Did that make sense? We'll be learning as we go along? You know what I mean. It is later in the day than I wanted to talk to you. Now dark outside. I've done my writing for the day as well as a bunch of chores, so I wasn't just like straight writing all day like I imagined I would when it turned November 1st. I also imagined that I would be at 80k by the time I got to November 1st though, and that didn't happen either. So I know traditionally for NaNoWriMo you start a new project. I have been writing a novel since technically September 2019 because I wrote the opening 2 chapters as part of my dissertation for my undergrad, but I only wrote like 7,000 words up until September 2020 essentially, when I then wrote more for my MA, and I got to I think about 70k during my MA, and then I have been writing ever since. It's only been like a month, so I only wrote around 10k. I wrote like 5k and then I was trying to get to 80,000 so it could be a clean start. My manuscript looks like it's gonna be in and around 140k, and so if I write 50k during NaNoWriMo then I'm really close to where I think it will end. So that was the aim. That is why I'm doing NaNoWriMo, because I've been writing this book for a while and I want to get a finished draft done. Now that I've done my BA and my MA, and I'm kind of in this period of like, what the hell am I actually gonna do for the rest of my life? All I want to do is write books. I want to be an author. That's the goal. So November, I've decided I'm gonna like commit to NaNoWriMo and try and write 50k. Don't know if it's gonna happen. I'll be happy if I write 30 or 40 because I wrote 40k from the months of June through to mid-September. Essentially my dissertation for my MA, we call it the manuscript though, because it's a creative writing MA, and that program in particular, it is quite a long project. There's a lot of words, 40k. The aim of the program is to get you to be an author, get you to write an extended amount of words, so they make you do that, which I'm grateful for because now my manuscript, I left with 70k, so that's a reasonably high word count. I should probably now talk to you about my manuscript and what it's about and where I'm at and my goals and those kinds of things, but it's, like I said, later than I wanted it to be, so I don't know if I should wait for a time with better lighting and such. So I will tell you how much I wrote today. Like I said, I tried to get it to 80k and I came really close. I was 900 words off, essentially 919 words off, but I was really busy over the weekend. It was a Halloween weekend and I had to self-isolate for 10 days leading up to the weekend, and so the weekend was just insanely busy and I didn't have time to write the 900 words. And then I spent a lot of today debating whether or not I should include those 900 words in my word count for today, and I've come to the conclusion that I am, because I don't want to start off behind schedule, and if I didn't I would be behind schedule, because for NaNoWriMo you write an average of like 1,666-ish, and if I didn't count my 919 words to get me up to 80k, I've only written 987 words. I have actually written 1,906 words today. It's a decent start. I'm over the word count. I think that's all for this update. In the next one I'll actually tell you what the manuscript is about, but day 1 has been a success, I think. Hello, it's November 2nd. I've not actually written anything yet today. It's still a fresh 10 to 10 in the morning, but I thought, you know, I'd catch you up. I'm sorry, I'm in a really weird place in my bedroom right by my window, but I kind of think it looks cute. We have the bookshelves in the background, and I don't have to hold the camera, which is the most important thing. I say camera, phone. I'm filming on my phone. So I guess I should tell you a little bit about the story. I have mentioned it on various other times on my channel, but if you're new here, I'll let you know what it's about. The working title is Seraphine, that being the name of the second main character, I guess. It's from Louise's perspective though, it's first person. She is the protagonist, and it's essentially a coming of age. I think that's the best way to describe it. A Bildungsroman, and there's another word which I'll put on the screen, which is kind of like a coming of age, but it's when someone comes into their artistic selves, and it's also very much that art. It's very important to this book. Louise wants to become a writer, and also it was very important in the 1920s Paris, and it pulls out a lot of themes that I wanted to interrogate, and it just weaves itself really beautifully beautifully in a lot of the different discussions that I wanted to have. And I did mention then that it takes place in 1920s Paris, 1925 to be exact. It's historical fiction in a country that I don't even live in. So the research is intense. There's no like one way of doing it. It depends, because there are times where you need to know what were elevators like, right? And so that's just like you go on Google and you figure it out. You look at the images, you look at YouTube videos. That's actually the best way I found YouTube videos of elevators that are from the 1920s. Read different articles. You also need to get the tone right. You need to get general people's behavior kind of right. And so that's more of like getting a feel for the period, and from that it's just kind of reading books from the period tends to be the most helpful thing, especially if it's books related to my topic, for instance, where people... That's another thing! It's also about Louise discovering her sexuality after she meets Seraphine. She literally meets Seraphine at the very opening of the book, and it widens Louise's horizons and perspectives. And Louise is lower class. She's a chambermaid at a hotel, at currently L'Hotel, which is a very famous hotel. It wasn't called that back in the day, I don't think. I think it was still Hotel the Alice, I think it's pronounced. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's what it was called when Oscar Wilde died there, at least, which was like turn of the century time. It's another thing I need to nail down. And Seraphine is an upper class woman, and she's an artist model. Wilde himself is relatively important. Seraphine's a big fan of his work, and The Picture of Dorian Gray is a book that Louise reads in the opening of the novel, and it has a lot of themes about art. Wilde as a character just works quite well for this one. He has so many great quotes that I want to include some way. It's ambitious. There's a lot of things I want to tackle. It's very long, this first draft. It's historical fiction. It's the first book I've ever written. I predicted it's going to be around the 140k mark, and that's because a big event has only just happened, and this was what I thought would be the halfway point, and it's at around the 75k mark. So it's gonna be a long one, and I fully anticipate that in future I'm gonna have to cut it way back. But I'm just going with it. My form of writing is that I don't outline. I start with a vague premise and topics that I want to cover and characters, and then we'll see where it takes me. I'm wearing my necklace on backwards. I've only just realised, and now I'm sad. As I wrote the first 8k, I think I had a rough idea of where I wanted the story to go in terms of plot points, major plot beats and such, and it comes to me as I write, and I've already got a list of things that I'm going to have to go back and change and fix and add or take out in my second draft, my second run through, and a list of ideas for the second half of the novel. So I do have a rough kind of plan. I've got random scenes, I've got like big plot beats I need to hit by the end of the book, conversations I want them to have. That's the biggest thing. There's a lot just sitting around and talking about ideas and stuff. And that in a nutshell is the book. So like I said, I think we're just at the halfway point there. A major plot beat, like the second biggest plot beat essentially, other than her meeting Seraphine, has just happened. And so it's kind of like the first half, and then this thing happens, and then the second half is how I visualized it structure wise. I read a book about structure. It was really great. Meander, Spiral, Explode by Jane Allison, and this talks about how that traditional structure, what does she call it? I think she calls it waves. Chapter 4 in here. Yeah, look, the crescendo, that triangle, about how there's something quite masculine about that structure, and about how it like mimics men in sex. I don't know how else to say that. An alternative one could be lots of little crescendos, and how this represents female sexuality better, which, given the nature of the book, is perfect, and it just feels more natural to the book, and I wanted it to have kind of lots of little problems rather than one. I mean, there is one overarching problem, but I wanted it to have lots of different facets rather than being like this one thing that they have to overcome, essentially. Now we've got that out there, I should probably start actually writing. I also talk about, I don't know if I'm gonna vlog every day. I don't know if I'm gonna write every day even. Typically I used to write Mondays through to Thursdays, and then Fridays I would edit videos and do like bookstagram and stuff over the weekend and take a bit of a break. And I need breaks in my writing quite often. I'm a very slow writer in every sense of the word. I probably won't hit 166 words, 1,666 words, Jesus, every day. I'm hopefully going to compensate for it though throughout the week. I imagine I'll take weekends off. This is my first NaNoWriMo. I've never done it before for a reason, and that's because Novembers are typically quite busy for me. Right after Halloween, which I tend to get really busy for. Bonfire Night's on 5th, which isn't that big a deal, but still I often have one or two plans around that. And then it's my birthday in the middle of the month, and I have divorced parents and a bunch of different friendship groups, and so I typically have a lot of different plans scattered around that time. And also this year I have my undergrad graduation because it was postponed because of COVID. It's a busy time. I really need to write now. I'll see you in my next update. So it's the next day. I wrote 1,980 words yesterday, which is pretty good. It's over standard quota, and it was all one scene. It was an argument. It was quite fun to write, and it was quite easy to write. It all just kind of like came out of me. And then I spent all day today actually writing. I stopped to eat and I stopped and had a little break in the afternoon. Other than that, that's literally all I've done today. And I wrote 3,329 words. More than I anticipated. I wanted to write about 3,000. I didn't think I'd actually do it though. I most definitely do not typically write that much. It was across 2 chapters, and again, it came out of me pretty easily. And I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of what I'm going to write tomorrow, so hopefully I can bang out another 3,000 words tomorrow. Fingers crossed. I've not had like writer's block or anything yet, so I'm waiting for it to happen. But it was a really good writing day today. I didn't struggle at all, and I wrote a lot of words. I have no idea what chapter I'm on. That's another thing I was supposed to say at one point. I literally just write next chapter or chapter break every time there's a chapter break, because my first 4 chapters aren't what they will be. In the beginning, for a start, I wrote it in 3rd person, and so the first 4 or something chapters are still in 3rd person. I haven't written them since either my undergrad or the very beginning of my master's, and so they kind of probably are quite different from the rest of the manuscript anyway. They're probably just not up to scratch and a completely different tone, and obviously in 3rd person. But also in the beginning my chapters were really long. I decided around the, I think, original chapter like 5 or 6 or 7 mark to start breaking them up a lot more, because long chapters is something I personally hate when I'm reading a book, so it feels really hypocritical of me to then have really long chapters in my book. So they need breaking up as well. So I have no idea what chapter number I'm on, but I can tell you how many words I'm on. 86,296 words, 285 A4 pages. That's another thing I wanted to say on here. How do people write? Do you have like one giant manuscript and one Word doc, or do you break up per chapter? I don't do that, partially because I don't know what chapters are, and because they're now so short that it doesn't feel worthwhile. I have one really long manuscript doc, mostly so that I can like back it up and it's all there in one place, and also so I can see my word count overall and stuff like that. I have separate Word docs where I'll have like a clump of chapters, and then I'll kind of name it by the key plot points that happens in that chunk. Yeah, I think that's all for my update today. It's going really well. It's going too well. I'm ready for things to start going wrong. I have a haircut tomorrow morning, so I won't be able to write in the morning. I won't be able to write until after lunch, so my chances of actually writing 3,000 words, unless it just magically throws out of me and I like can't get the words down quick enough, aren't looking the best. But we'll see. You never know. I've just spent the last hour supposed to be reading and instead looking for Christmas present ideas. So I need to get reading now, and I'll see you in my next update tomorrow, I guess. Hello, it is Thursday the 4th of November. I am writing as we speak, although obviously not. I'm talking to you, but I'm mid-writing right now. It was a late start to the day. I only started at 3. It's now 10 to 4. I got my haircut, as you can probably see, and it was kind of messed up. And so my mum then had to fix it. It was a big ordeal. I was very upset about it because graduation this month, and I didn't want it to be bad for my graduation, but then I just had it cut, so I didn't want to go and then pay for someone else to try and fix it, and in the meantime have bad hair. It was an ordeal, but it means that it's a late start to the day, and I've only written like 500 words so far, and it's been an hour. That can't be right. I must have started later than I thought, and I sense that it's not going to be as smooth an experience today. I have a conversation that I want to happen, and I don't know how I'm going to get them to that point of having that conversation, and it's stressing me out a little bit. And the fact that I have this pressure isn't helping. So I'm going to go right now, but I thought I would share that with you. Yep. I'll see you later. I did it. I was on 3,264 this morning, and now I'm on 6,276, which is just over 3,000 words. It's currently 7:30. I got 2,000 and like 900-ish at about 6:30, so that's 3.5 hours, which I want to say is a new record for me. But there was one time that I did like just spit out 4,000 words in an afternoon. It just like all came out of me, and I think it's actually my record, but I still didn't think I was gonna do it, and then I did it. I will say the last 400 or so words were a little tricky. It was more me adding words for the sake of adding words for the word count and to get stuff done, rather than actually adding them for the scene. But because I came to the end of the scene and the end of the conversation, I didn't want to go into a new scene or chapter or whatever. It was a conversation between two characters that I find their conversations really interesting. My main character and her kind of writing mentor, and so they talk a lot about like different writing things and methods and like what it means to be a writer and why we write and all those kinds of things. And I now have time to go read, which is great. We love that. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, I think. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Hello! It is Friday the 5th of November, aka Bonfire Night, and it is Bonfire Night. I am watching fireworks from my window as I make this clip. I wanted to come in here and close out the vlog. I don't know if I'll be writing over the weekend or not. If I do, then I'll include it in next week's video. I spend most of today editing what you've seen so far, and then I did get some writing done in the afternoon. It was only for like a couple hours, but I managed to get a decent amount done. I only wanted like 1,600 because that's the daily quota. That would get me up to the quota for the week, and so if I didn't write over the weekend, I didn't have to stress about it, and I did that. I wrote 1,837 words, so I wrote over what I thought I would, which brings me to a total of 12,064 for NaNoWriMo and a grand total of 91,119 for my manuscript as a whole. So things are going well. NaNoWriMo is going well so far. If you're taking part in NaNoWriMo, please let me know how it's going for you in the comments below. I'd love to know. But other than that, thank you so much for watching this week's video. I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Jade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye!